Empire.
Welcome to the latest edition of All Caps. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino, joined by former Capitals defenseman Karl and 102nd ranked tennis player in the world, Denis Kudla. Dennis, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
How do you guys know each other? Because that's the thing that from all of this that was just like, oh, how do you know Denis? How did this all happen?
One of those friends apps, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we both swiped right to be friends.
Yeah, we're like,
common
yeah,
interests.
That looks fun.
No, what happened was Dennis is good buddies with my old neighbor, Dan Schneider, who is actually the guy that I'm working with now with my new company, Thundercat. And so he was always telling me about this guy, Dennis, tennis, this and that. I'm like, I'm going to smoke this guy. And then he's like, no, he's actually a professional tennis player. I'm like, okay, maybe I can stop shit talking now. And
yeah, exactly.
We kind of knew about each other for a while, and then hung out for the first time. What was it, like a month and a half or so ago? Which is a really great story that comes along with that we'll get into. But yeah, no, I mean, you're from the area, right? This is kind of This is home.
Yeah, grew up in Northern Virginia, and then just spent obviously a lot of time in Florida because it just was tennis heaven. But always try to move back for a little bit, and then always try to come back when we can.
Yeah, it's fun too because you follow hockey, you know a lot about it, but not just like the stuff about hockey, but about the players and how an athlete's mind works. And it's fun to have conversations with you because you think about things a little bit different coming from a sport that's an individual sport versus a team sport. So it's always fun. Like actually when I started coming up with my stupid questions, I put the question out to our group chat, our fantasy football group chat, and Dennis was throwing a bunch at me. Some that were like hard hitting about actually thinking, and then some that were just about dumb things too. So it's kind of fun. We're working on I guess figuring out when Dennis is done playing tennis, how we're going to be able to hang out a little bit more. Because I think that
see if Thundercat has a janitor job, so I'll be there.
I think you'll do a lot more than that. But I mean, we might as well get into that right away, just because I want to start this off with something funny. So Wino, we were at a Caps game. Actually, I was doing stuff with Thundercat, so I was with Dan, and Dennis was there as well. And so after the game, we decided to go to Clyde's. Is it right?
Yep.
Yeah, Clyde.
And so I'll let Dennis take over from above here. He's got a really, really great talent at de-escalation, and he can explain how that works.
So yeah, definitely not my finer moment, but I thought it was a finer moment until it actually happened. But so we go to Clyde's, we're having a good time at the game. We had a dinner before, we were having drinks. I was making fun of everything Canadian possible. But we have a good time at the game. We're drinking, and then we go to this bar, and there's this one guy. He's, probably a little bit bigger than you, Carl, right? Just a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Big boy, but definitely on some steroids for sure. This guy was large. And he just started getting into a fight with these random guys. And I pretty much stepped in and said, you know what? Not stepped in. I pretty much told the group, I'm like, guys, I can de-escalate this. I can de-escalate any situation possible. So he comes over, he's done, blah, blah, blah. He walks over. Little do I know, this guy's probably huge cokehead or something. I don't know. And then I was like, okay. Hey, he dropped something. I picked it up and I was like, I really think I was pulling for you on that fight, or I don't know what I said. I said something like that.
Yeah.
And then he just he absolutely towered over me. He saw red, went right over me, towered me, was just cursing me out. And I was like, oh no. Then he gets into Carl's face out of nowhere. Carl just standing there, having his beer, enjoying it, just watching me do something stupid. And he goes right into Carl's face, and I'm like, oh no, I'm about to get Carl punched in the face in this random bar. Like, wow. I mean, we had just met him and his wife. I'm like, what are we doing? What am I doing? Luckily, Carl was actually the one who could de-escalate. And Carl was just smiling at this guy. I was terrified. This guy would have murdered me. But Carl was loud.
It was so funny because it's like it was like one of the first like work related things I've done with my new company, and there's like clients there too, and I'm like, holy smokes! Like I never got into a fight at the bar ever, and I'm gonna get into my first bar fight in my new job with these clients here. I'm like, is this really what I want to be doing right now? And luckily, the situation kind of cooled off, and the guy got kicked out. I guess one of the people we were with saw him at the hotel later too, and he was still all fired up. So it was so funny. I'm like, man, I gotta be careful hanging out with this guy. He's gonna get me in trouble.
Yeah, I know. And then Carl was like, "No, you're really good at de-escalating." I was like, "Yeah, that's probably the first and last time. You know, I'm done with that."
Imagine this guy. He actually legit. He looked like Tom Wilson, similar size except on steroids. Like he was
insane,
massive, big individual.
Yeah. And we know we've talked about this. You're not really a fighter, Karl.
No, I'm not a fighter. Like I can defend myself if I have to, but I don't want to get into a fight. I mean, you never know who you're going to run into.
And I clearly play a non-contact sport for a reason. So.
If we could have gotten that, get your hands really clean.
Yeah, exactly.
It was so funny, but I think obviously, yeah, you're a hockey fan. And what is it about hockey that draws you to the sport? Like, did you play growing up? Like, how'd you get into that?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I've always loved hockey. I was attracted to it because when we were younger, I played a lot of street hockey. Unfortunately, I was a kid that didn't know how to rollerblade, so I'd be the one running around. My brother he's 5 years older, would put me in goalie, no pads, just shooting slap shots right at my shins, and I'd be like, "Oh, this hurts so bad," but I was just loving it. But as I got older, obviously, I was always a big Caps fan. I think there's the culture of it. I feel like. There's just no beating around the bush in hockey. You have the culture, you have fighting in there. They get in each other's face. It's respect, but I like the trash talk aspect of it. It's quick, it's fast. I always said it was similar. You guys have all the same skills that tennis does, but it's on skates, which I always admired as well. But then in the tennis locker room, it's probably one of the locker room's favorite sport to watch. We all love hockey and we love golf.
Yeah.
So it was fun to get into that. We were in a hockey pool, a fantasy hockey league one year, and unfortunately I got kicked out because it was in China in a bus, and I lost my Wi-Fi service. And it'd be actually really funny if you know this guy. So it auto-picked. I was number one draft pick, and it auto-picked this guy named Daniel Cleary.
Daniel Cleary.
That's your number one?
Yeah, as my auto pick, and then everyone just starts going off. It messes up. I'm like, who is this guy? Like is this like a number one rookie? And I've heard of him. Like, we look him up. This guy's like 31 years old and played like for Detroit for like 4 games or something. And I was like, oh my goodness.
So funny.
It was all over the place, and I got kicked out of the league later because I was still trying. Didn't realize that there's only like a limited amount of games. Every player can get points. And I was like, what is going on? I'm trying. All my guys are doing great, but I'm going backwards. What is happening?
That is amazing.
Daniel Cleary wasn't a good start. Dan Cleary was not a good start to that league for you.
No. Really bad for me. And I was like, wow, I'm surprised you didn't auto pick like Crosby or Ovechkin or something. I was going to pick Ovechkin for sure. Easy. It's the Caps. I get to watch every game. It means something to me. And Cleary, I was like, wow, I don't think I'm going to be watching too many Red Wings triple A games or whatever.
That happens. So, hey, it happens. I auto drafted Jacob Vrana this year. He hasn't played a single game. He's been hurt.
That didn't go well.
Wow.
What the heck's going on here? But anyways, it happens. So I was actually wondering about why not I talked to this with Dan about wanting to go watch one of Denis's matches and sitting in as like the box and chirping his opponent. But apparently that's a big no. Like it's like
that's frowned upon. That's frowned upon.
So yeah, it's frowned upon in tennis, which needs to change ASAP.
Yes.
Our sport is, I think, hangs on to tradition a little bit too much, and it's one thing if you hang on to tradition and you're getting rewarded for that from a business point of view, but we're not at all, except for maybe Wimbledon having the all white. But like I never liked it. I never liked an interview of like my family or friends came out and just started being loud. I just felt like I put so much pressure. I was like embarrassed to these guys and these fools like run like screaming. I'm like, oh my god, these are my friends. And in tennis, like we're in our own heads so much, and you're just fighting yourself all the time. If you're not rock solid up there, which most guys are not. So when you have another guy chirping, either goes one way or the other, because you can absolutely crumble, or it could give the reason for the guy to just keep trying. Like, you know what? I'm just going to beat the shit out of this other guy just because of these guys. Because I've done that so many times. And it feels so good. You just start pointing, you start looking at the eyes for a long time for someone in the stands. Like, this is your fault. This is all your fault. Your favorite guy is going to lose because of you cheering so loud because you're an idiot. So.
Oh man, there's so much I want to hit on the mental side of the game. There's a couple things I really need to ask you about first before we get in. Wino, hopefully I can ask some of these questions right here, because I of course had to do a little digging. I think the first thing I need to ask you, well, I want to know more about was it Necker Island? Was it with Richard Bronson?
Yeah.
Like that, talk about tradition. That's something that happens every year. So can you explain that to us, for us common folk that wouldn't ever have a chance to go to Necker Island?
So I've been fortunate enough to do it twice. I've been invited a few times. It just got super lucky. So one of my first coaches, one of his buddies from forever in Atlanta, actually started this charity event on Necker Island for I think it's Inspiring Children Foundation. Jewel runs it, and this guy named Ryan Wolfington, a couple of friends work inside of it. And so they started, and they always try to ask me if I wanted to come. It's always bad timing. I was like, sure, fine. But obviously Richard Branson, he loves his charity work and just a great guy. So I get there, and it's like, this is a make-believe world. Like, you cannot believe it. You get there, it's a service anywhere you want. There's a bar every 20 feet. There are lemurs. You can go and see whenever you want. Food's incredible. You're around, like, one guy invented this, one guy invented that, owner of this company. And it was crazy. I mean, talking with Richard Branson, guys, so nice. It's amazing how important, how big time he is in the world, but how in tune into a conversation he is, and how he's listening and truly cares about what you're trying to say and what your life is about and what you believe in. So it was a pretty awesome experience, on top of getting drunk a lot and a beautiful beach. So
could you actually make contact with the tennis ball? Were you able to? Or?
Yeah. So we play on this artificial grass, and we play a bunch of these 10-point tie breaks. And there's a bunch of like handicaps based on the level of the am that you're playing with. And one of the fun things about that is when you're playing, if you double fault, which you need to hit slower to the am. So, it makes sense. It's fun for them. But if you double fault, you have to take a shot of tequila. And if you get aced, there's some big servers there. You have to take a shot of tequila. So at one point we were playing, and I was playing a doubles match, and the guy I was playing with didn't drink. So every time he got aced, I had to take his shots. And I was like, oh my God. So at one point I took like 5 tequila shots within like a 6-minute period. And I was like, this needs to stop. This needs to end.
Does tequila make you a better tennis player?
No.
Less mine, right?
A more fun tennis player to watch, but not a better tennis player.
Fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. I mean, it sounds like you said, it sounds like a dream to go there and see that. It's nice to know that he's like a good guy too. And
hey, I'll put your name out there. Let's see if we can get you on there. It'll be fun.
Work on my tennis skills. I'll be that amateur that doesn't drink. If I'm playing with you, I won't drink. So
they love. Yeah, exactly. They love the Canadians up there. There's plenty of Canadians out there.
We'll get Karl shots of bourbon. We'll get Karl shots of bourbin that he can do. If you're doing tequila.
Yeah, exactly. So it counts. I don't drink tequila.
That sounds good. Okay. Next thing I got to ask you about is I heard some really interesting story about your birthday cakes growing up, and I'm so curious if you can elaborate.
So I was born in Ukraine, and I was raised in a very Eastern European household in a very American cul-de-sac. So whenever I went to my friend's house for birthdays, we would have ice cream cake, big frosting cakes, whatever. We'd have Cokes, pizza, candy, just regular presents that you think of. But when it came around to be my birthday, my parents hosted it. My grandma would be making cake. Like, no, we'll make our cakes. We'll make our own desserts. And luckily we had pizza, but the cake was like, I don't know, like maybe the cottage cheese and raisins, something in the hardened. And it was like super traditional, like bitter, like tea cake that they make. And my friends were like, oh, this is not what they expected. I was like, oh my God, this is awful. No candy, like Russian candies you've never heard of before. tea biscuits. It's just hilarious. So the cakes that I grew up with were pretty unordinary when it came to the American household, a child birthday party. So imagine giving like a cottage cheese rum raisin cake to a bunch of 6-year-olds and they'd be like, what is this?
The last birthday party you ever have right there, eh?
Yeah, exactly. My friends started forgetting my birthday real quick.
Before we get back to Karl's fun stuff, do you have any family back in Ukraine? Is everybody okay? Like I feel like I need to ask that.
Yeah, everyone's okay, fortunately. Luckily we don't have a huge family. I have a couple cousins and an uncle, but they're completely safe. So out of harm's way, luckily, and we're in contact with them. So that's good, but obviously it's just a huge shit show and chaotic what's going on. So
yeah, and
not much we can do.
And I have a friend, Isabel Kershutin, who used to cover the Capitol. She is in Ukraine right now. She just left Kharkiv and safely got out of there. So we're all kind of worried about that and just kind of dealing with this entire kind of wacky situation.
Exactly. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Let's take a break. When we come back on All's Caps, I want to ask you about that bus trip in China, and I know Karl has some other things to ask you before we get to Karl's stupid questions later. Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner and professional tennis player Denis Kudla. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. A thing that caught my attention earlier, Denis, was you said, I was on a bus in China, having just been in Beijing for 3 weeks myself for the Olympics. Can you go expand on the bus trip in China and your time there?
Yeah. So I've actually been to China twice.
That's one time too many for me, but that's okay.
Yeah. No, it's unfortunately not our favorite place on tour. It happens at the end of the year when we're all just roasted mentally. So it doesn't kind of help your cause, but there's just so much money that was pumping out of there. So it's big for our tour. But obviously we haven't played in China in a while. Right. I really hope we don't go back. Yeah, China's a wild place when you go there. When people tell you how everything is blocked, can't see anything unless you have your VPN and you're trying to find your loopholes. But you're like, man, they're definitely watching me somewhere. There's definitely cameras in these rooms. I'm being spied on and tracked for sure. So it's pretty wild. Going down at like our bus ride, seeing these crazy play. The fog is nuts. I always thought it was a cloudy day, and they're like, no, it's actually a clear day. It's full of pollution. And I was like, wow. I mean, I am absolutely inhaling this, full sprinting outside pollution, just corrupting my lungs. And I just like, I can't even. Like, I come back home after like 2 weeks in China, and I'm like, I can't breathe enough. It's terrible. It's awful, but no, it's a wild place. Not my favorite. I do want to see the Great Wall of China, but
I did it a couple weeks ago. I did it a couple weeks ago. So they took us.
It's amazing.
They took us on like a media tour, 40 of us at a time, basically, and they had an area of the pass there that was open just for us, no tourists around. But we didn't have there's like a kind of a lift almost that goes to the top. We didn't have that. We scaled the actual wall. So we climbed up like almost spider climbing.
That's what I would prefer to do. I prefer to do that because I think that's just incredible. Someone built that. That's how they used it. It's crazy.
It is a thing that even if you don't want to go, I'm glad I don't have to go back because now I've seen the Great Wall.
Yeah.
That was a hell of an experience.
Going out to a restaurant in China and you're just like, it's literally rats on a stick. I can't. I don't know what it is. It's like, that is not for me. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an interesting place, and we were kind of sheltered being in the Olympic bubble situation there. But it is you could see kind of the world outside and everything going on in Beijing, and people lined up for these mandatory COVID tests, and it's like this is a very different place.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine when we have to go back what it's going to be like. Just after everything, it's going to be comical at some point. I hope.
So you were somewhere else recently. You were in Mexico, right? And
yeah.
I got asked this because we texted about it, and I think it's hard for someone who's not involved in the sport to understand. First of all, how hard it is to get to the top of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
But like, can you give us an example? Like, what would separate someone like Nadal, who you played in the first round, versus somebody else? Like, you explained it to me, but just like, can you kind of break that down so we can appreciate that?
So for me, I'll argue with anybody when it comes to everything involved on and off the court. I truly do believe tennis is the toughest sport in the world because of all the variables that we have. I don't see as many variables in any other sports, except for boxing, the only argument, because you get punched in the face, literally. But the difference between these top guys and everybody else is not so much the ball striking, but it's more of the accountability of their errors, the physicality, and just the way they kind of see the game. I would almost think that Rafa sees the game in slow motion. He probably sees like all the lines just in front, like, oh, this is the right trajectory to get this, to get that. They're just thinking 2 shots ahead, 3 shots ahead. And even when you know what's coming, there's nothing you can do about it. I compare it exactly just to Ovechkin. When everybody knows for the last decade plus, he stands in the same exact spot and still scores. And it's insane. So playing him, I was able to play Djokovic, Federer, Murray now in my career, and was able to see kind of the difference between all of them. But what he did so well for me, what was so tough, was because of how fast the game is, anticipation is so important at a high level of any sport. So I'm trying to anticipate what the next shot is and what the correct footwork is. But he's creates so much different speeds and variation of spins that I'm wrong so much that I can't get a clean ball off, which doesn't hurt him, and I can't neutralize him. So when he's on offense, he's one of the best offensive players ever, and I'm just start running. He just has me on side to side, just on a leash. And so it's crazy to see that. When you watch the highlights, you don't understand. You just kind of wonder, oh, why'd you miss that? Why'd you miss that? Like, if you see what this ball is doing right before you're about to hit it, you're just like, what kind of side? What side do I hit it on? Because if it's going this way, I hit it, it's gonna just shoot off to the right, to the left. I'm hitting the frame of my racket. I'm trying to jump, get it right. I'm trying to see where he is. There's 10,000 people watching me too. The ball's bouncing all over the place. So it's crazy how you have 5,000 thoughts in your head, but you literally have half a second to process it all. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's something that we don't get to see in sports. Like one thing for hockey, same thing with spin. Like, it's always funny to listen to the crowd, ooh or ah or boo when a defenseman goes to get a pass up at the blue line, and then all of a sudden it ends up outside the blue line and everyone's got to check back up because we're offside. But it's because that puck's come with an insane amount of spin and it just blows off your stick, and there's nothing you can do about it, and no one knows that. You just look like you suck because you couldn't.
It's like Ovechkin, I had no idea that it was like his puck, just like it's like a curveball.
It really does, yeah.
And I had no idea until I started listening to goalies talk about why Ovechkin's shot is so impactful for goals. And I was like, wow, I did not know that. I thought it was just maybe pure speed, but I didn't realize it was a knuckleball. I'm like, how do you have a knuckleball every time? how is he creating a knuckleball off that shot, off a pass that's just coming on the ice? Or is it a certain kind of pass? I have no idea. So it's crazy to think.
Yeah, he's got a weird curve. So sometimes it just hits in the wrong spot and it goes knuckle, or even the way that someone passes to you, like the spin that you get from a pass, someone who's the same hand as you, giving you the correct spin to shoot it better versus someone who's the opposite. So
I also couldn't believe. So when I came out a couple of practices, I got a stick from Tom Wilson and Ovechkin, and I couldn't believe how light the sticks were.
Yeah.
Where like in tennis, the regular person will get a racket off the shelf and it's lighter than normal, but the tennis players' rackets usually are way heavier because we're looking for any easy power. So I thought a hockey stick was going to be so heavy, but you guys are just strong and used to it. But it was just like so light, a feather.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
I know, it's weird. Some guys don't like that because it is too light. It feels like you go to hit a puck and it's like you're smacking a boulder. It just doesn't feel like you can.
Like the puck is playing you. You don't get to like.
Exactly. Yeah, the puck does play you sometimes. So it's very interesting. And this is the other side because you are a student of tennis, and I think you enjoy the thinking side of it. And from me, because I played a team sport and you playing an individual sport, I'm curious. This is gonna be a lot to digest because I've been thinking about it a lot. But do you think it takes a different type of athlete to be in an individual sport versus a team sport? And I'll give you an example. So you just flew. You'll fly halfway around the world. You go play someone who's ranked the top 3 in the world, knowing that your chances are maybe somewhat slim to upset them, but you still prepare for it. You still go and do it. And the difference is, in a team sport, you can diminish the impact of the best player. An Ovi isn't going to go out there and win every game. A McDavid and Draisaitl aren't going to go out there and win every game, but a team also can mask the influence of the worst player. So you can have some bad players or players that aren't good that day, but you can't do that in tennis, right? You have a bad day. You have a bad day. You can't hide.
Yeah, what I think about is in the highest level of team sports, you guys have the kind of combination of you need to be a team player, which we don't have, but you also are playing, for yourself, maintaining your position, your spot on the lineup. You're part of the team, so you need to also go through your own routine. So you do have a little bit of the, individualism part of it. While in tennis, it's purely you need to be selfish, you need to be individual. You have to show up every single match, and like you said, you can't hide. I have to win every single match. If I was on a team sport and I just wasn't feeling that good that day, like boom, I get replaced. But if I have an untimely injury, like I'm out. I'm losing my points. I go back in the rankings. Too bad. Life's not fair. So I think tennis is more cutthroat in that way. We really don't have any security in our game. We play for everything, play for every check whatsoever. So I almost compare it to we're just kind of like we're like gamblers, really. you just work hard. You're like poker players, and you have no guarantee if you're going to win or lose. And you just go out there and hope that the hard work that you've done pays off and you get paid. And if you don't, too bad. You start losing money because you gotta go to all these places and pay. So the mindset of it is, I think that's why I think athletes get along even in different sports, is because even though you have a different mindset from the team, you can understand a lot of the individual part of it when it comes to routines, when it comes to certain habits, and also the physicality of it. You guys are more of, we're both sprinting sports, but I have to be in every play. So there's a little bit more of an endurance factor. Well, you guys go full sprint, boom, break, full sprint, break. But, we're probably just as exhausted after the certain time periods. That's why I think I've always loved hockey too, because I love listening to the physicality part and the details, the off ice. I'd almost rather watch a practice than a game. And then to be able to understand when you get into a game, like this is what these guys are working on. These are the exact plays they're going for. Who's in shape? Who isn't? What's the camaraderie like? What's the mindsets between everybody? Because you guys have to come together as one mind, which is actually wild to me because of being so selfish. And I know how crazy my brain is. I couldn't imagine having to work with like 20 other guys.
Yeah.
To make something work,
It's true. That's what separates the good teams from the bad teams a lot of times too, right? The ones that can play as a unit. So I don't know. I just think I think you guys have to have like more discipline, more self-reliance, focus, passion to be able to get up and find the drive to, just get to the next set, it's just in crazy, like intrinsic motivation,
Because it would be tough. It would be tough for me to know, like, if you had an unreal game and then you guys still lost because somebody blew it,
exactly.
And like that, and
that
it doesn't in
tennis,
like, exactly. In tennis, that's okay. Yes, you can have like unbelievable matches and lose, but usually at the highest level, like if you're playing a great match, you're probably going to win. And if you're playing bad, you're probably going to lose. Well, like I couldn't imagine on something a terrible day, but then like winning, like whoever was in the Stanley Cup, and when you guys win, like someone just had the worst game ever or something like that. Whatever, I got a Stanley Cup. I'm good.
Oh, exactly. Oh, totally.
You can matter,
I mean, does anybody ever play a match hungover, or you guys when they're there, you're dialed in? Like maybe there's some guys.
No, that are crazy, you're dialed in. You're dialed in. Curious does it. Maybe it also depends on the tournament, but no, most guys won't do that.
Exactly. You're wasting all that work you put into it, and then you're gonna go out there.
Yeah, I remember being in Tampa and meeting some of the Lightning guys, and they would like play a game, and in 30 minutes after literally they blow the whistle, these guys were at the bar. It was easy. We have 5-6 drinks, no big deal. I'm like 5-6 drinks, I'm bombed. I'm like, my practice is done.
Yeah, exactly. They're just gonna relax a little bit.
My coach might rip my head off.
Yeah, hockey people are different, and in a lot of great ways. Hockey people are different,
and I think that's why also tennis players would love it, because we're such again traditional. It's not, you can't be outspoken as much. We're trying to change that by like hockey guys are just they're raw. So I think we just respect that so much.
When we come back on All's Caps, Denis Kudla will be the latest victim of Karl's stupid questions. Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner and professional tennis player Denis Kudla. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino, and now for Karl's stupid questions.
Yes, okay, Dennis, we're going to run through this quick because we all kind of got to get going here. Just give me your answers. I'll give you a score at the end. It's really important, so answer good. Okay, karaoke song. When you're out and about drinking, what are you going to sing for us?
George Michael, Freedom.
Freedom.
That's a good one.
Okay, I'm going to make sure I hear that next time. Is there a player that
don't know why?
It's good. It's perfect. Is there a player that you just love to beat? Someone that you've beaten over and over again, or someone that you really want to beat badly? Is there someone that comes to mind?
Oh, you know who I love beating? Gosh, that's tough. Quick. You know what? Is a German guy, Dominic Koper. I train with him in Tampa, and I just love. He's beaten me too, though. But I just love shit talking him and getting into his head. It's the best.
That's perfect. Okay, this is actually a question from you that you sent in the group chat, so I figured I'd hit you with it. Do you have a word or a phrase to help you snap out of something? Things aren't going the way you want. Like for me, it's if I have a bad shift, I come on the bench and I just say, Karl, you suck. Like you suck. And it just helps me kind of like be like, okay, you can say that and now let it go.
I go through control what I control, which is my attitude, my energy, my decisions, and my adjustments, and life isn't fair.
Nice. Oh, I like it. Really good. Yeah. Okay, next one here is what's your guilty pleasure, and is it a Crunchwrap Supreme?
Yeah, I love Crunchwrap Supremes. I love ice cream, Cheez-Its, and probably alcohol.
Oh yeah, yes. Exactly. Oh man. Okay. Next one. I'm gonna kind of switch this into a tennis version. So would you rather play 5 years professionally, be kind of ranked in the middle, but win, let's say, one Wimbledon, or would you rather play 15 years and be ranked inside the top 20 the entire time, but never win any major championships?
I win Wimbledon. I quit tomorrow.
Oh really?
I'm good. Yeah. That's. Well, maybe it's just the perspective of it. You would look at probably the consistency would be more admirable, but people remember winners. So yes. Wimbledon.
All right, that's a good answer. I like it. And okay, this is the next one. We got a few minutes. Okay, when do you think an athlete is not considered an athlete anymore, or is it once an athlete, always an athlete? So if you need me to break that down more, like if in 15 years when I'm 300 pounds and can barely move, am I still considered an athlete or no?
Yes, I think you're always considered an athlete if you can do the general athletic movements and coordination it takes to be an athlete.
Okay, so I would still have to be able to move around a little bit.
You'll always be an athlete.
You're in men's league right now, so you count.
Yeah, I count. Exactly. Okay, I mean, if you think so, I mean, I have a different opinion on that, but it'll take us. 20
I don't think you can say you're a high-end athlete. No, you're not a professional athlete. That's why there's the word professional in front of athlete, but athlete can stand alone.
There's professional athlete, athletic, and sedentary.
So it's all still in the same ballpark.
Okay, perfect. All right, I love that. I'm going to give you bonus points for speed because we haven't had speed like that before. Oh. And I love the Wimbledon answer as well.
Yeah.
The alcohol with some honesty there.
Who are we kidding?
Go with, oh, wow. Okay, plus that. 169 points, which puts you into a bronze medal right now, which is huge. Like
wow.
By quite a few points. So you should be very proud of yourself, Dennis.
I guess I have a reverse question, maybe give me the gold, but I'd be like, in hockey, is it the same where either someone loves drinking or they barely drink at all and don't drink?
Yes, there's a few of those guys for sure. There's definitely a couple.
I feel like sports in general, there's not really much moderation when it comes to that because we're just so driven. It's either you're driven to never drink or you're driven to drink all the time.
Well, and also you feel like you can put anything into your body because you're working it out the next day too. So
exactly.
It doesn't work that way anymore. I can vouch for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can vouch for that too.
I love the honesty. I love the bronze medal competition. Olympic bronze medal also, I think. Would you retire after that too?
No. I went to the Olympics and my buddy's got a bronze medal, and no, you got to keep playing. Tennis, it's not the biggest thing for us, so
right.
It's different.
Well, Denis Kudla, thank you very much for joining us on All's Caps, and we hope to have you on soon.
All right, I appreciate it, guys. It was fun.
Thanks, buddy.
And we'll talk to you all next week.